I once told you about the day when the colors of the rainbow were arguing about who among them was the best and most important color. Red could stand it no longer. He shouted out, "I am the ruler of all of you. I am blood, life's blood. I am the color of danger and of bravery. I am willing to fight for a cause. I bring fire into the blood. Without me, the earth would be as empty as the moon. I am the color of passion and of love." Hello once again, I'm Don Jackson with a very passionate webcast. Joseph Addison said, "Love is a second life. It grows into the soul, warms every vein, and beats in every pulse." This will be a passionate exchange, underlined by the heartbeat of the internet. Henry Ward Beecher wrote, "Of all the music that reached farthest into heaven, it is the beating of a loving heart." I remember an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine called "You Are Cordially Invited" that was written to highlight the marriage of the Klingon Worf and the Trill Dax. The Klingons are supposed to be a warrior race, and the Trills are a race of hosts. Now, if you didn't watch the series, suffice it to say, these are two aliens from different worlds and cultures who fall in love and wish to be married. The ceremony that was created for them is the stuff of sci-fi legend. These are some of the most beautiful words I have ever heard for a union between two souls. The episode was written by Ronald Moore. The matron of a great Klingon house and family is officiating at the ceremony. She begins, "With fire and steel did the gods forge the Klingon heart. So fiercely did it beat, so loud was the sound, that the gods cried out, 'On this day we have brought forth the strongest heart in all the heavens. None can stand before it without trembling.' But then the Klingon heart weakened. Its steady rhythm faltered, and the god said, 'Why have you weakened so? We have made you the strongest in all creation.' And the heart said," and this is where the groom comes in and speaks, "I am alone." The gods knew they had erred, so they went back to their forge and brought forth another heart. This is where the bride comes in. But the second heart beat stronger than the first. The first was jealous of its power. Fortunately, the second heart was tempered by wisdom. The bride speaks, "If we join together, no force can stop us." And when the two hearts began to beat together, they filled the heavens with a terrible sound. For the first time, the gods knew fear. They tried to flee, but it was too late. The Klingon hearts destroyed the gods who created them, turned the heavens to ashes. To this very day, no one can oppose the beating of two Klingon hearts. The matron officiating in this ceremony then asks for the vows. She says, "Does your heart beat only for this woman? Will you swear to join with her and stand with her against all who oppose you?" The bride is asked the same question following the groom's reply. After their promises are made, these words are said, "Then let all present here today know that this man and this woman are married." The words of Ronald Moore. It is one of the most beautiful wedding ceremonies I think I've ever heard, one that shows the strength that two hearts uniting are capable of producing. It's been rumored of Cleopatra that she had engraved on crystal and onyx some of the most passionate words of love. They were painstakingly recorded this way for the one man she cherished above all others, Mark Antony. What makes this passion so special is the fact that these two lovers were mature people somewhat younger would have been overwhelmed by their passions. Cleopatra and Antony knew a smoldering intensity that could have lasted for all time. Now, we know these tablets of onyx and crystal exist because much has been written about them, but they have yet to be found. Even though those tablets may be lost forever, we have found other, less elaborate writings from around the same time period, with words no less intense. This excerpt appears in the book Styles of Loving by Marcia Laswell and Norman Lovesense. From the chapter The Search for Love, I quote, "A 4,000-year-old fragment of a clay tablet unearthed by archaeologists in the ruins of Babylon bears a message not too unlike the lovelorn lament of a modern torch song. To Bibia, the cuneiform inscription reads, 'I have come to Babylon and saw you not. Oh, I am so sad.' At about the same time, give or take a millennium, an Egyptian woman separated from her lover inked this bittersweet sentiment on a shred of papyrus. 'I go for a walk, and you are with me in every beautiful place, and my hand is in your hand.'" End quote. R.G. Ingersoll wrote, "Love is the magician, the enchanter that changes worthless things to joy and makes right royal kings and queens of common clay. It is the perfume of that wondrous flower, the heart. And without that sacred passion, that divine swoon, we are less than beasts. But with it, earth is heaven, and we are gods." William Penn perhaps said it best when he described passion this way: "Passion is a sort of fever in the mind, which ever leaves us weaker than it found us." And writer Wendy Lee in the April 1985 issue of New Woman magazine said, and I quote, "Passion. You could say it starts with a bang and ends with a whimper. At first, the scenario is invariably this: you can't keep your hands off him. He can't exist without touching you. All your hours are spent fantasizing about being with him, and all your hours with him are spent in a luscious explosion of sexual drama. Then the relationship starts to change. You touch each other less and less. Your mind begins to wander when you are with him, and your heart beats more slowly when you are without him, until eventually, from your vantage point of a now tepid romance, you find it difficult to remember what it was like when you were both ablaze with passion." Psychiatrist Michael Leibowitz believes that the only surefire way to prevent passion from dying is death itself, or separation, and says, "I don't think it is an accident that the great romances of literature, such as Romeo and Juliet or Cathy and Heathcliff, occur between people who, for one reason or another, don't have a chance to stay together. As we know from experience, falling in love is very different from, and in my opinion, much easier than staying in love." Sarah Bon Brannock, in her book Simple Abundance, writes, and I quote, "Passion is a holy, a profound mystery that transcends and transforms through rapture. We need to accept that a sacred fire burns within, whether we're comfortable with this truth or not. Passion is part of a real life's package because we were created by love, for love, to love. If we do not give outward expression to our passions, we will experience self-immolation, the spontaneous combustion of our souls." Dorothy L. Sayers, the deeply spiritual English writer, believed the only sin passion can commit is to be joyless. End quote. Robert Browning wrote, "The high that proved too high, the heroic for earth too hard, the passion that left the ground to lose itself in the sky." Anne Rice, the author of so many highly charged books about vampires, was interviewed by Sheila Weller for the April 1983 issue of Self magazine. You must remember these comments were made a very long time ago, but what she said still rings true today, and maybe even more now that we have a tool like the internet. And I quote, "What a rich load of evocative material we have at our command. Aside from being about accessing the past, sensualizing the present, and reinventing oneself through the courage of will, romance is also about one other thing, the endurance of passion against odds and over time. Romance really is no less than the battle for the self, the fight for the integrity of the personality in a complex culture against everyday odds. We are all engaged in that battle. We are all romantics at heart." End quote. The words of Anne Rice. Alfred Lord Tennyson must have been breathing the intense nighttime fragrances of the garden when he wrote this. "There has fallen a splendid tear from the passion flower at the gate. She is coming, my dove, my dear. She is coming, my life, my fate. The red rose cries, she is near, she is near. And the white rose weeps, she is late. The larkspur listens, I hear, I hear. And the lily whispers, I wait. Whoever you are, I have always depended on the kindness of strangers. If there is any American play that smolders on the stage, then it's the Tennessee Williams classic, Pulitzer Prize-winning Streetcar Named Desire. When Blanche visits Stanley and Stella, she goes for a long soak in a hot tub. She was of the opinion that soaking in a hot bath cooled her off in the oppressive heat of the Deep South. The next time you're in New Orleans, look for 632 Peter Street. That was where Streetcar was written. It was in an oven of an apartment in the back of a funeral home in the Big Easy, where Tennessee Williams wrote Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. One sultry night in 1999, I took a horse and buggy ride by the place he called home and could just imagine how he could be inspired to set his plays in the tropical heat. Characters with names like Big Daddy and Brick and Maggie seemed to go from a simmer to a boil over the course of a few acts. Nothing's more determined than a cat on a hot tin roof, is there? In the intense heat of the Deep South, harsh words are more often than not spoken, tempers flare, and the lovemaking is passionate. Barbara DeAngelis, from her book Passion, wrote, and I quote, "Something in our human nature longs for that experience of complete emotional absorption, that magical moment when we are swept away. It is passion that entertains us. When a book is written without passion, you lose interest. When a team plays without passion, the game becomes boring. To feed this appetite, we reward those who can stir our emotions to the greatest heights. Actors, athletes, and rock musicians make millions because they know how to turn on our passion." End quote. Leo Buscaglia, in his book Born for Love, Reflections on Loving, published by Slack, said, and I quote, "Love is an emotion of extremes. It challenges our patience, our understanding, and our resources. It heightens our perceptions and increases our energy and vitality. It is not for the easily defeated or the quickly disillusioned. If we are determined to be lovers, we shall have to accept and acknowledge our passions. Of course, we risk being led into mysterious, uncharted, hazardous places, but we can be assured that our lives will never be dull." End quote. The words of Leo Buscaglia. Good night, sweet dreams, I'm Don Jackson.